Active is low-key playing the jams right now. I'm not sure if you can hear.
I could hear like a little bit. Like, there you go. But look, like, because of like these pictures are not straight, so it's gonna look weird. It's fine. I think we should. Oh, this is like just put on wrong. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, are we starting?
Where is my mic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it recording?
Yeah, it should be recording.
Okay, that's so cool. So I actually like.
Let me just check if it's recording because now I'm scared. It's recording.
Okay, I actually like the fluffy mic head. I know it's supposed to be for when you're in the wind and stuff, but I think it just looks cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
But I'm also resisting the urge to want to like touch it for soothing because I'm like, that's not gonna pick up nicely.
Kind of just want to run it all over your face, right?
Maybe we can make this. We can also like appeal to the ASMR community. So like,
yeah, I was thinking about that, like snacks.
You literally have nails. Just like,
how does it? Do you think it? I don't think it's a good enough microphone for that, if I'm honest.
Okay, we'll have to start somewhere.
Okay, so Blue Lotus. Mm-hmm. Do you want to try it?
Yeah, this is the first time. It smells like a flower.
Do you think we should tell them what this is?
I think you should tell me what this is because I'm still not very clear on it.
Okay, so I have like this witchy meetup occasionally, and I tried this at one of those meetups. So basically, it's a flower from Egypt. It's like an Egyptian water lily, and they use it to like lucid dream, and also just as like a calming sort of spiritual like flower. So yeah, it's supposed to be to like open up your third eye and like, get things flowing.
I love that because it's making me think of the Gateway tapes.
Okay, yeah. So I think you should tell them that Rebekah has used the Gateway tapes to heal her relationship with her mom. And if you don't know what the Gateway tapes are, it is basically like CIA operation when the CIA was like, we're going to try anything and everything to like win some wars. Can't remember which wars.
We're ever going to try spirituality. It was very hippie of them, honestly.
Yeah, so they got a bunch of like psychic people, right? And they were like, we're going to try to get you to astral project and spy on like, other countries' operations. Right. And yeah, so tell me what that was like, actually. I really want to know.
So I basically came across this video on my YouTube, recommended, and I be taking this stuff as like signs from God kind of thing. Like, okay, but it also feels like, I know I'm not fully answering your question, but I'm feeling cool to just share like how with the YouTube algorithm and videos that have been recommended to me recently, I find that I feel like I have a choice. I get to pick what I put my energy towards because there's like videos on, how to win over a man that comes up on my recommend. There's videos on like, how to heal from narcissistic abuse. And I'm just like, what do I want to put energy towards? What do I want to prioritize in my life right now? It's really valuing my energy. And so last week, I saw this video, never seen this lady before, but she was talking about the Gateway experience. She was like, how it changed my life. And I was like, okay, I wouldn't usually click on something like that, but I just gave it a go. And I believed her. I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And I tried it that night. I listened to one of the tapes. I fell asleep during it, and you would think, oh, well, then it's not really going to have an effect. But the next day, when I was having a conversation with my mom, it clicked for me like, oh, I am having an experience right now because I listened to those tapes last night. So basically, before you listen to the tape, that you do like the chanting and the breathing exercise, there's this procedure to it where you have a energy configuration box or something that you imagine, and you put your worries and troubles into that box, and you're like, I'm putting that away. And the CIA is so woo-woo, you know?
No, they are. Yeah. It's crazy, but like we'll get into like the rest of the crazy stuff they've did like later or some other time.
So that's like the first step. And then the second step is to say this affirmation of like, I invite God. You can choose, but this lady that I watch, she invites God. But the specific affirmation from the tapes is like, I invite those with more wisdom than I have into my space, basically. And I said that. And the next day, when I was chatting with my mom, I felt wisdom. You know, I felt memories of my grandfather come up and how his relationship with my mom was. And I felt wisdom. I felt receptive to it. But I also felt like I had access to something that I didn't previously have access to. And I really think that it was just as simple as me setting the intention of, this is my focus, this is something that I'm wanting to put energy towards, and I'm wanting to heal. When I put that worry into the box the previous day, my relationship with my mom, and I felt like it actually cleared up space for me to not hear the wisdom of, you know, those that know more than me in the situation.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I feel like there's a lot to kind of unpack there, but I think the biggest thing is that, you know, these intangible things, and I keep saying intangible things, like the wisdom of those that came before you, your ability to access that, like it being a real thing that you're able to access, whether it's your ancestors, whether it's God, whatever and whoever it is that comes through when you make this energetic connection, right? Like you're making this energetic connection for like to heal your relationship with your mom, and the CIA is doing it for whatever reasons, the reasons that are monumental, like huge, right? But it just shows that these things kind of exist, you know? And for me, I think the gateway tapes were like it's something that they did when like in the 80s or something, right? It was a long time ago. And I think these days we have like frequency on YouTube, you know, heal your frequency. And it's like you think, oh, like what is this? Like, do these things work? But it's literally the same sort of like thing,
it's the
right?
same thing.
Yeah.
No, and crazy because on my drive here, I was chanting. You know, I was going rum rum, and I felt like, oh, this is reminding me of the frequency I was listening to the other day. And I'm doing a Hindu chant.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
And I'm just like, oh, but you know what? While I was doing the chant, I was like, you know what? I keep having these thoughts coming up, and I'm struggling to just really be at peace and feel like I am actually utilizing this chanting to like my best ability. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get that like ECG box out again. You know, that box I was talking about where you put your worries into it, and then you like before you do the gateway tapes, it's part of the procedure. So I was like, I'm gonna do that. And so it's like, I love just how my mind is now just connecting different aspects from different religions, from different methods, from different like cultures to help me thrive. And I feel like I'm able to do that because I've let go of shame around the idea of good and bad and evil and this is wrong. And it's like, no, let me just let what comes come.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think as you open yourself to being able to experience all these different things, you start to see how it's all interconnected. And every religion, every spiritual practice, even science, you know, it's all the same thing. There's just different names for everything, right?
I was actually hoping that you would talk a little bit about the science aspect of it, because I remember you saying to me a few weeks ago how science is actually catching up.
Yeah, like I actually wish I could demonstrate it. I think there are several like videos on YouTube and Instagram that do demonstrate it, but everything in the world is actually vibrating. Like we're on like a giant sound wave. Every single thing, even the solid object, is a whole bunch of atoms that are just vibrating. So us as humans as well, we're atoms just vibrating. And basically, when people talk about frequency, we are talking about vibration. So if you have basically two objects, like those sound things that you hit and you make it
The
vibrate,
gongs, yeah.
yeah, like that. I don't know what it's called. I've seen it, but I don't know what it's called. But basically,
Oh, tinctures.
I have no idea. Yeah, that thing. That
My mom
thing.
loves
Okay.
that stuff, yeah.
Right. So basically, if one is vibrating on a certain sort of frequency and the other is vibrating on a different frequency, they can't affect each other. But when they're vibrating on the same frequency, they can affect each other, they can transfer energy to each other. So similarly, when we are vibrating on a certain frequency, because we're vibrating all the time, we can only affect the things, and things can only affect us when they're on the same frequency as us. So that's literally what it is. When you do the whole frequency thing, when you're listening to it, because you are essentially a sound wave, that's dumbing it down a lot, but because you're a sound wave, you're kind of affected by the sound wave. You change your frequency, and then in life you attract all of the things that vibrate on that same frequency. And I know a lot of people say like the frequency thing is tired and you can't just tell people like you attract what you are, you attract things on the same frequency. And yes, it's a lot more complex than that, because you even get into like emotions and the frequency of emotions. I'm not sure if you like know
Yes.
about that, right? But I think it's so cool to be able to explain manifestation in this way, because I always say like the highest vibrational emotions like ego, gratitude, divine love, enlightenment, right? And it's hard for a lot of people to just be in the space of divine love and enlightenment all the time. Like it's hard for me. I don't know if you feel it hard as well, and I feel like I'm somebody who's been on this path for a very long time. But the easiest way to go from being in a low vibrational state, which is guilt, shame, anger, any emotions that make you feel yucky, to going to like high vibrational state where you're attracting the things that you want, which is like riches, love, happiness. How do you attract that when you're in a low vibrational state? The easiest way is gratitude. And how and why is it like this? Because people that are vibrating on that high vibrational energy, they have abundance, they have all these wonderful things, so they're automatically grateful. So the vibrations sync up. You don't have those things, but you have gratitude, so automatically you're on the same level, and then you sync up with those things that they have. So yeah, scientifically veered into spirituality a little bit, but I think it still makes sense.
No, it makes sense. Gratitude was actually what helped me, I think, transition from like the beginning of like my whole like dark night of the soul, when I entered into spirituality and I kind of felt like I was aware of that there was more to the world than what I had already known. Um, I was in such a dark place, and there was this episode of Big Mouth on Netflix.
Mhm.
Just dropping brand names.
Why not? I'm sure like everyone watches Netflix, like come on, it's a pretty common thing these days.
I was watching this episode, and there's this character called the Gratitude, and he just comes in because two of the characters are really struggling with anxiety, and he's just like, no, I just gotta be grateful, man. And for some reason that just did it for me, and I was like, oh, this is helping me feel better, it's helping me be more present. And it's so crazy that you're talking about gratitude right now, because on the way here I felt myself getting distracted, and I wanted to be present. I wanted to be in the moment because I knew how I wanted to show up for this. And I felt my mind going elsewhere. Felt myself being like, no, 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 I need to message this person. I'm driving, but I'm having these thoughts of like, I need to text this person, you know? And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not going to worry about the future or the past. Right now in the present, I'm getting to meet like a soulmate of mine in real life. I get to create something so special with her.
Mhm.
I'm just going to focus on the here and now. And I felt like this peace wash over me. Like those things that I was worrying about were like, they can wait. Like, it's fine. There's no stress. Like, it's okay. I'm just going to be here in this moment. And I felt it so high vibe suddenly, like high frequency. Like, it took me just one thing. And I was like, oh, living day by day is actually an amazing thing. It's not just about survival. It's actually like, I think the trick to like successful living.
Yes, like being present. No, definitely. You know, you talk about high vibe. I feel like I literally felt like the energy in the room shift. I feel like it's so high vibe, and yeah, no, I don't know if you feel the same way.
I do.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing about being present, I think that's something like I also struggle with because, like, I'm always thinking about the future. I'm like, when is it coming? When is it coming? Is it going to be what I want it to be? Oh, and something I wanted to come back to is the box that you were talking about, because I know a lot of people do struggle with like being able to quiet the mind when it comes to like meditation. I personally have never, but like my method is like taking your thoughts, crumpling it up into a paper ball and throwing it away, right? So that always just works for me. But I know some people are just like, but how do you do that? How do you just not think? And I partly feel like it's because people think that meditation and spirituality is a hard and unattainable thing because that's how it's been portrayed in the media, you know. But I want you to talk a bit about the box and like how you can use that to quiet the mind.
Okay, so it's funny because I don't even know. I know it's an ECG box, and I know that it means energy and ECB box, energy and box, but I'm not really sure what this stands for. It's either conversion or configuration. Yet here I am, like talking about this thing, you know, with such confidence. Once again, I fell asleep during the tape, but I still feel so like grateful for it because it impacted me. And yeah, so I'm going to do my best to explain it. It's basically, yeah.
Okay, wait. I just wanted to say, so I'm looking up what ECB box is, okay? And I don't know if you mean like the actual practical ECB because it's saying this is emergency communication box.
That does come up. Type in gateway experience box. Yeah. But basically, it's like you imagine a really heavy box and you take the lid off. And you put all your worries, all your concerns into the box, and then you put the lid on it. But also while meditating, and if you find other thoughts coming up that you forgot to put in the box, you're like, open the box again, put it back in. And I just love that because it's like there's no shame that you know you're having other thoughts come up. It's just like, no, there's a quick solution for that. That's fine. Let's keep going.
There's a box right there.
There's a box right there. That's why we have the box. Because that's a normal experience to have other thoughts come up. Why are you expecting perfection in general? Just that's the end of sentence. Why are you expecting perfection?
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think that's very deep. And I think the really cool thing about the box as well is you have the ability to go back and open it whenever you want.
Yeah, you do.
So you don't have to worry about like, am I going to lose this thought forever? I think it's really interesting how we can like actually use our brain, like use it practically, like to store memory, like we can control that. It's not just automatic. You know, because the thing you're talking about with the box, like you're consciously controlling your brain. But I think most people just think like, oh, I have a good memory or I have a bad memory or this is just how I think. But you can actually change the way you think in like a real time through just something like imagining a box.
Absolutely. It's about intention.
Yeah.
And I think in order to get to that space of seeing the possibilities and being open to that, you do have to, tackle the shame. You have to tackle enough. I feel like
The shame.
I think shame has just been coming up a lot for me recently, and I'm just seeing, because apparently shame is the lowest frequency. It's the lowest vibe because it's just stagnant energy. It keeps you stuck because shame is basically saying to yourself, I cannot trust myself because I did something so terrible. And it takes you away from God. I mean, the first story in the Bible, Adam and Eve, like God is this all-knowing power. But when Adam and Eve take the apple and sin, they're like, God comes up and is just like, where are you guys? And I met someone the other day and he was like, that makes no sense to me, because if God is all seeing and all knowing, he should know where they are. And I'm like, no, because it's a choice.
Yes.
We have free will
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And it was the shame. It was recognizing their nakedness.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, it took them further from God, and that's why they were away from God. And I felt today I had a whole bunch of stuff coming up in my head and fears and insecurities. And I was like, no. Let me find something to be grateful for. Like, I've attracted this energy, this friend into my life. So that's something like that's pretty good. I can't be such a terrible person, kind of thing, for that to happen. And so I felt the vibe go up. And eventually at the end of my drive, I felt like God was in the car with me, kind of vibe. And I was just like at peace. I felt peace.
Yeah, I love that. And I just want to take it back to you explaining the shame and it being the lowest vibration and like the story in the Bible. I thought it was very interesting because when I began like my spiritual journey, I think I've mentioned to you like one of the first things I did was read the Bible, the book of Genesis, right? And like my mind was blown when I read the Adam and Eve story, because I was like, oh, like in the Garden of Eden, they were naked the entire time. There was nothing wrong with it. They were God's creation and it was like a beautiful thing. That's how they were meant to be. And, after the whole sinning, you're right, like it was actually about the shame around being naked and the shame around being like God's creation. Why are you ashamed of being God's creation? You are made this way. Why are you ashamed of how you are made? And I think it really ties into the way everything operates in society now, because we are still ashamed of being naked. Okay, and we are ashamed of all of the things that make us God's creation, all of these intangible things we don't talk about, recognizing the divinity in other people. We tell people, you're crazy, that's not real, you're just imagining things, when actuality, that's your connection with God and you're ashamed of it. So yeah, I don't know if you pick up what I'm putting down.
I most definitely am. How do you think we can move past that as a society?
I think we need to have just more soul to soul level conversations where we don't dismiss people and call them crazy just because it doesn't align with the way we have been living our lives. I think the more we fully accept everything as being real, like people have different versions of reality based on how they were raised and their inborn personality and all of the things, like we've talked about, it even goes back lifetimes, right? But I feel like if we talk about that, it's going to be 3 hours long. But basically, yeah, we just have to start fully acknowledging everybody's reality as being true, because it actually is. There's no correct way to live life. There's no correct way to perceive God. There's no correct way to connect to God.
Absolutely. Going back to how I'm using CIA declassified documents to heal my relationship with my mom, I found acceptance doesn't mean appeasing. you know,
What does appeasing mean?
appeasing means, you know, trying to fix it, trying to please, trying to make that person's reality my own, trying to, you know, get out of, like, because I need to be present with myself, and I can't force myself to to take on that person's reality just because it might make them feel less crazy. It's not my job to convince them that they're not crazy,
Yes.
you know, because I find that with certain people in my life, I'll talk to them and I really don't care, you know. I don't care. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I love you, you
Yeah.
know. I may not be like showing that love in ways that you want it, but I know I love you.
Yes.
But then because they have shame, or because they have, you know, they've been told that they were crazy by other people, they kind of think like I must think that of them too. And I'm like, no, I don't. And I just kind of have to accept that I might just be the villain in someone's reality, not because I am, but because that's just their reality. You know, it's not just it's not like the understanding the reality and accepting people's reality. I realize isn't just being like, oh, you know, like there someone believes in Jesus. So like it's not always high vibe. Sometimes it's like someone believes that like the world is out to get them.
Yes. So I think I just want to check this is still recording.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Okay, so yes.
I'm really relying on you to just like kind of process what I said, because I don't even know what I said.
No,
Honestly.
I've already processed it. So see, that's where I was going to explain like exactly what you were saying. So the thing is, there is in I don't want to categorize it into something like good or bad, because it's not that. Like just because people have maybe a belief that is not putting them in the best headspace, like, oh, okay, like, you know, what did you say? I can't remember what you said, but if somebody believes like, okay, the world is out to get me, that's what you said, right? I don't want people to feel further shame around maybe having that mindset. Like, whatever you think, it's fine. You need to accept yourself where you are, I think. But there's living from the soul and there's living from the ego. And I was actually like, a lot of people, I think, just think the ego is tied to achievement. Like your ego gets big because you think XYZ, I've achieved XYZ. But the ego is actually the conscious self. It is, I am this, I am a human. That is your ego. But you're not a human, you're a soul, you're energy vibrating in a vessel, right? So your sense of self is your ego, whatever it is. If I say I'm an engineer, I'm a tarot reader, that's my ego.
It's your identity.
Yes, your ego is your identity.
Yeah.
It's one and the same thing. It doesn't have to be good, it doesn't have to be bad. If you think I am a terrible person, that's your ego. And living from the soul and experiencing ego death and all of these things that people talk about is just that. It's recognizing that you're not the body, you're not the self-identity. The self-identity is ever-changing and your soul is eternal. So I think when it comes down to validating people in their beliefs, you know, when it comes to living more interconnected and connecting with God, it's about validating the beliefs that come from the soul and not from the ego, because the ego is the temporary world and the temporary life. And yes, we do need that in day-to-day life, because what are we here for if not to experience life as a human, right? But yeah, if we want to be enlightened, if we want to connect with God, the beliefs that need to be validated are from the side of the soul, not the ego, you know?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think what you were talking about is also understanding that everyone is on their own path, and whatever those ego beliefs are, it doesn't need to be up to you to change them. And it doesn't need to be up to you to push them in any specific direction. You can accept them as they are and love them as they are, but you don't need to be like, you are or are not a terrible person. it's up to them to decide whether they want to be on a specific path and what that path is and how they get to wherever they're trying to go in this lifetime.
Mm-hmm. You know, it what you're saying, it's making me think of that whole spectrum you were talking about with manifestation, you know, the shame, the anger, and then you have like gratitude. What were some of the other emotions? Just
Divine
joy,
love,
divine love,
enlightenment, yeah,
enlightenment.
joy.
And it goes back to like how, for me, the whole good and bad thing. It's just, it's so unfortunate to me how we be living in a society that associates things as good or bad, like emotions as good or bad, because they all have their place. You know, the reason you're feeling shame is because you had an experience that taught you that that was something to be. You know, it's not like your soul comes here, in my opinion, you know, being like carrying shame, carrying that stuff encoded. That's not that. What do you think the soul carries?
You know, that's the funny thing. I actually wanted to talk about that. Like, the soul itself is completely indifferent. It doesn't feel joy, but neither does it feel guilt and shame and anger and all of those things. I think part of the reason why people feel bliss and happiness through enlightenment is because they were tied down by those heavy emotions like shame, guilt, and sadness, anger. And when they feel the indifference of the soul, they're like, wow, I can exist in a place where there's no suffering. But I think the more you go down the path and the more you connect with your soul, you realize, like, yes, there is no suffering, but there also is no elation or joy. The soul just is. It is indifferent and it is detached. And yes, in day-to-day life that can serve you very well if your thoughts are going and going and going. But you're not here to be that. You're not here to be emotionless and detached. The whole purpose of the human experience is emotions. Oh, and I just want to say something. I was laying in bed last night because I was having a little emotional break last night after like the longest time. And I was like, why did I come here? Like, I was thinking, like, why did I as a soul choose to return back to earth? Um, and I heard my soul speak to me in that moment, and she was like, you know, it's so boring. She was like, it is so boring to not come back here. Like, to be eternal and experience nothing for eternity, why would you not come back?
Wow. You've not watched The Good Place, right?
No.
There is a scene at the end of The Good Place where, let me try not to like spoilers, but basically the idea is about returning. And there's this like metaphor that comes up. Can I use your phone to search it?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think that's what I'm meant to share with you right now, what I'm wanting to share with you.
Can I hold this for you?
Thank you. Okay, so there comes a point when, okay, this reference is a quote from the final episode of the TV show The Good Place, where Chidi Anagonia uses the metaphor of a wave in the ocean to describe life and death. The quote, picture a wave in the ocean. You can see it, measure it, its height, the way the sunlight refracts when it passes through, and it's there. You can see it. You know what it is. It's a wave. And then it crashes on the shore and it's gone, but the water is still there. The wave was just a different way for the water to be for a little while. But while the individual lives, the waves, while the underlying essence, water, continues to exist. So I'm just thinking about what your soul was saying to you and how just the idea of coming back here, it's a choice. I'm just processing and wrapping my head around that because, and I think why I felt drawn to that is because that's something I'm trying to understand with life and death. Like, what is what is death? Where does the soul go to? You know, um, the soul is just sitting there bored, kind of vibe.
I
Do we
feel
become an atom again?
yes
Atom?
and no. Like you're everything and nothing. And I don't know. I feel like we've talked about this, but maybe not in this specific context. And yeah, in terms of life and death, there is death, but there's also beyond death. So, like, yes, your soul returns to being pure consciousness, like just energy in the universe, part of the great source energy that is God, right? And because God is the creator of everything and also the destroyer of everything, because it's all cyclic, you are a part of that. You are also the great creator and destroyer. You're a part of that, right? And when religions teach you enlightenment, there is always this end goal of becoming one with God again. Every religion is always teaching you this life is temporary. The goal is to become one with God again. So that's exactly what happens. But there is something beyond that because there's okay, getting back to like scientifically, we can't perceive everything that's going on all the time. Like there's literally dimensions that exist all around us that we're unable to perceive because of our limited bodies, right? So it's like this idea of God that we have, it is what we can perceive in this vessel. And it's so hard for us to perceive it even. We explain it in very abstract terms. So there is something beyond God, beyond that, because actually Hinduism does explain it, where like you're in this lifetime, you die, you become a part of God's consciousness, and then there is also an end to that cycle of creation and destruction, of universes being created and destroyed. And then there is something after that, and then there's a cycle, and there's something after that, and there's a cycle where like within and without, like it's infinite in many directions.
Mm-hmm.
So, and everything explains it. It's not just Hinduism, it's also science and string theory, because string theory, you are like infinitely peeling back layers. And you know, Einstein said that like you look far enough, you see the back of your head. So everything is like like and you might, you know, people
Sorry,
might
but that just sounds like an Indian auntie quote. Like you know, like I don't know why, but like you're gonna like it just sounds like yeah. It just
Sager,
does.
you're so full of shit. One day you're gonna see the back of your head. Keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna see the back
You're
of
gonna
your
see
head.
the back. I'm telling you.
I'm
one
gonna
day.
show you the back of your
I'm
head.
gonna show you the back of your head.
Oh God.
I'm so sorry, but you were saying.
Okay, no, but right. Look, somebody's gonna tell me I'm taking the quote out of context, whatever. I don't care if I'm taking it out of context. Look deeper into it, you'll see that everything reflects everything else. So, literally, everything is cyclic, everything is round. We're all going in circles all the time, and everything is inside everything. Everything's also outside of everything, and yeah, when you get into like the loop of thinking, it gets exhausting. So you don't need to think about it all the time. You don't need to solve the great mystery that is the universe and everything and life and death and all the things.
No, because imagine, why would we come to Earth? Maybe someone has. Maybe that's someone's like great mission, like, you know, to come to Earth and figure it out. But for me personally, I'm like, I came here to like do other things, you know, like why, what am I gonna get for like understanding everything everywhere all at once? Like, am I gonna get, and if I get it all, like actually what I would like to be learning is soft skills, like how do I share my knowledge and like serve and use it in how I communicate with people, you know, why must I know everything? Why should I, kind of vibe?
Yeah, no, I get that. I think it also comes down to like making a difference where you can. And it also comes down to being present,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, if you are a school teacher, right? Your job, this thing you've chosen for yourself is I'm going to go to school and I'm going to teach these, you know, these children. I'm going to make a difference in their lives. when you're a school teacher, you're making a difference, or your purpose is to do this one thing. You're not like, now let me go home and like solve reusable rockets because like Elon hasn't done it yet. You're not like you're not doing everything. You focus on one thing at a time. You are present in the state that you choose to be present at. And that's why even when we come to earth, our souls have all these different intentions. We're like picking our little job, but it's a lifetime thing, and we're largely unaware of it just because of how the world works. Because if we remembered everything, it would just be too easy.
It would be just as boring as the other.
Right, exactly. So that's what it is. It's being focused in this lifetime on the things that you can affect because you've chosen to affect them, not because you're limited. Like you are, but it's also a choice.
I completely get you. Do you think that you would want to come back here, like now, as you are not listening to your soul, but your ego, your identity?
My identity is tired, so no. Yeah, I think even on a soul level, for me, I feel like I did come back tired. And I tell people all the time that I know my life's purpose is awakening people. Like it happened very naturally for me in that way. And I knew I was going to come to do that. And for me, it feels very much like a mission, not a joyful one. And it's okay because it doesn't have to be joyful. But I kind of feel like I came back just being like, okay, gotta go do this again. Like, how sometimes you wake up and you're like, yeah, gotta go do my job. Exactly that. And it's not a sad thing. It is what it is. Like, I'm here at my job,
It's acceptance.
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like I'm in a similar vibration, and that's why we are here right now, our atoms bouncing off each other. Because wouldn't you explain like our words that we're putting out? That's atoms, right? Those are atoms. What are they?
I don't know. Like, yes, everything is an atom and you're putting out a vibration. I think you're vibrating the atoms around you. So you're not really putting out your atoms, but you're changing the vibration of the atoms around you. So it's like we're putting it out there and it's coming through the phone and it's affecting people,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I forgot about the people.
Yeah. I mean, look, I feel like I sound really stupid and like I don't understand science.
Why?
I know, because I feel like I explain things in such silly ways, but it's also just so people can understand. I really hate and I've talked about this before, I hate when maths and science are gate kept. Like it's supposed to be something for extremely like skilled or talented individuals. When I was literally telling my mom the other day because she asked me about like a simple calculation and we were talking about maths, and I was like, she was like, I really want to learn how to do simple calculations again because I can't remember. And I told her, like, yes, do it. Go ahead. You can learn it. Why not? Because maths is the basis of the understanding of the entire world. Why should anyone not have access to that? And basically, the question she asked me, and I hope I don't like bore people with maths, right? But the triangle Pythagoras theorem.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, there was Pythagoras theorem on the TV for whatever reason, and it was a 3, 4, 5 triangle.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the 3 and 4 were there, the lengths of the sides, and my mom was like, "Hey, solve that," and I was like, "It's no." And she was like, "What's the answer?" Right? She was like, "What's the answer?" I know it's something so silly, but listen. So I'm there like texting on my phone. I look up and I say 5, and she's like, "How do you work that out so quickly?" And I was like, "Because it's a 3, 4, 5 triangle, like." It's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. And she was like, "What do you mean?"
Say, mom, say. What do you mean? mean. Yeah.
And I was like, no, it's something you just know when you do maths. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. You don't have to go calculate 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 25, and then the square root of that is 5. So
Speak for yourself, Kayleen.
no, but see, I'm just explaining how something is so simple. Like, the more you understand what it actually is, you can look at like, oh, that's a 3, 4, 5 triangle. I know the hypotenuse is 5 units. And I was trying to explain to her, because she was like, how do you figure out square roots? Because how do you know what the square root of 25 is? Like just
no.
She was like, is it trial and error? And I said, I was trying to explain, because she was like, so how would I figure out like what's the square root of 411? And I was like, well, you would go with the biggest number that you know, right? So like you would take out 100, and like square root of 100 is 10 or whatever, right? And I think as you pull out the numbers, I was sort of explaining to her, like, the biggest you can pull out is the square root of, I think, 400, which is like 20. And then you have root 11. So the answer is 20 root 11, And basically, it's the biggest number that can multiply by itself. And I know I'm like teaching maths here, right? But the thing is, she didn't understand that. And I think if you just explain maths to somebody properly, like, something that seems very difficult can be very simple. And
it's strange because everything you described to me, I'm like, you know what? I picked up that frequency. I'm like, it's there in my brain, and there's an interest now where I'm gonna like watch this video back, and I'm going to pay attention, and I'm gonna see what I can get, that I didn't get now. And then I'm gonna decide, I'm gonna watch it again. Or maybe I'm gonna like ask ChatGPT to explain this in a way, that I'll understand even better, because ChatGPT know my brain, kind of vibe, And it goes back to what you were saying, just do it. Like, I think that what you feel called to do in this lifetime, put energy towards that. Like, whatever little energy you can put into it, do it. Trust yourself.
And I think it even comes back to the shame that we were talking about, because if you want to do something, if you want to go learn grade 7 mathematics as like a 45-year-old, just because you're like, hey, I want to remember this, I want to know what was going on here, why not? Like, you feel ashamed. You're like, oh no, this is not meant for me. Oh, why would I go to the gym? Like, people have been going to the gym for 10 years. They're going to judge me. Everyone started somewhere, okay? And maybe your starting point's a little different than somebody else, but you're not them and they're not you. So, yeah, it's about letting go of the shame and just going for it, right?
Absolutely. For me, the shame comes with, or used to come with, being like, oh, yeah, I'm feeling called to this now, but I'm only going to do it for like a day because I have ADHD or blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, so what if I do it for a day? Because maybe I did it for a day and that was all I needed to do it for, kind of thing,
I mean, look, I love that you're trying to get us canceled the first podcast we do, because you're like, I have ADHD or whatever. It's like, I think the first time I spoke to Rebekah, this is the first time we're speaking in person, by the way. But the first time I ever spoke to her, I think I told her, like, ADHD doesn't exist, by the way. Like, I know you think you have it, but...
And that, we didn't speak for like 2 years.
No, I didn't even know her. I was just like, oh, let me tell... This chick on Instagram seems like she's crashing out. I think I just need to tell her that, like...
But your voice stayed in my head for like those 2 years. And I had to deal with that because I was like, it was in my head, but it was also like, I didn't know how I felt about it. But there was something that grabbed onto what you said.
But I think I just need to tell people, it's not that we don't like acknowledge that ADHD exists, or that like certain mental illnesses or conditions don't exist, because they exist, yes, but we're talking about it in more of a metaphysical sense, where we talked about validating everyone's sort of reality. And I think what I was trying to tell her, and what she's trying to tell you now, is that just because you think differently or whatever, like you're distracted all the time, ADHD, thoughts bouncing everywhere, like just because you don't fit into society's conditions or box doesn't mean that you're less valuable. It doesn't mean that the way that you think is wrong. like you're still fully capable of living the life that you want to live. Like you don't need to limit yourself just because you have a condition, is what we're saying, right?
Absolutely. You explained that so well. Thank you for saving my counseling career.
Oh, yes. By the way, Rebekah's a counselor. You should contact her if you want to get a session done.
If you want me to shame you for having ADHD.
She's not going to do that, I promise. Like, she is the most patient and understanding person that I know. I don't know. Like, where did this mean girl energy come from?
I don't even
Like,
know.
who are you?
Oh my goodness. I like this.
Me too. I kind of need to pee.
I think that's like, we can end it here.
Okay.
This episode.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, amazing. I think we can come back next time, even though I wanted to talk, like, there's so much to talk about.
Oh no, we can film another episode after this.
Oh, okay, cool.
It might have to be in a different location. You don't need to know why.
Okay, great.
Go pee.
Okay, I'm gonna pee. I don't like no outro. No outro. By the way, I do tarot readings. And yeah, like I can tell you about your soulmate and I can give you spiritual guidance if you want to contact me for that.
I will say what actually brought me and Kayleen fully together was Kayleen did an energy reading for me over the phone, and it blew me away. It actually validated me because I thought I was going crazy. I was like, I am living in a fantasy world, and you were like saying things to me like that I had already thought like just 2 hours earlier, and I was like, oh, this is legit, you know?
Yeah.
And I am legit, and I felt like as soon as I had accepted myself, I was able to accept you. You know, as much as I was able to meet myself, I was able to meet you, because I have to recognize my frequency first in order to recognize your frequency sometimes in general.
Yes. I mean, I think a lot of people do say that to me when I read for them, maybe in different ways. I think to a lot of people, what it comes across as is confidence, meaning like, if you're somebody who's a spiritual practitioner, you can't meet the other person with doubt. You naturally have to take on a bit of a leadership position. And if you're unsure within yourself, in your own heart, you're not able to lead other people to what you're trying to show them.
Soft skills.
Soft skills. Okay, yeah, let's go.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here and doing this.
I'm so excited.
Okay. I think that was good.
That was insane.
Can I put it off?
Mm-hmm.
Stop.